Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to do a quick introduction, as we usually do before our press conference, just to let you know the process of how everything's going to go. The mayor is going to speak first, and then the chief and some council members. This should be able to be live fed through LNK TV, either their YouTube link, and then afterwards, I can send a video link out as well as we recorded if somebody needs that. So let me know if you need a copy of the video as well or the audio, and we'll make sure to get that accomplished. So, and as I said, the first up, Mayor's going to talk today, and the purpose of this press conference is to talk about the protest that happened 25th and O early hours this morning. Mayor.
Good morning. First, I want to once again offer our community's condolences to George Floyd's loved ones and to all of those who have been impacted by the stain of violence that continues to be perpetrated against African Americans in our country. Not only do these tragedies harm the family and loved ones of those who are lost, they weaken the fabric of our entire society. We are all angry at the continued violence, racism, and unequal treatment inflicted on our African Americans and people of color across our nation. We have seen it happen time and time again, and we are outraged. People should be outraged about what happened in Minnesota and in so many other places across the United States. It is a shameful pattern, and it must end. Across our nation and here in Lincoln, people are calling for change, for a better world free from the racist bigotry that still plagues our communities. Protesters in Lincoln have largely been peaceful and respectful, and we fully support their calls for justice. Last night, however, anger turned into violence and destruction here in Lincoln. We can't have that. That honors no one. To all those who are speaking out in these troubled times, we are here with you. We stand with you in calling for justice, but we must not let our call for change be perverted by violence. We must do this together peacefully. And with that, I'd like to bring the chief up to share more words.
Mayor, thank you. Members of the council are here. In fact, all the members of the council are also with us today, and several will be speaking, and so we appreciate the support, as does the community. I just wanted to walk you through a few different things that we have been updated since I last spoke early this morning. So far, we are investigating 9 different vandalisms with the most extensive damage to a business at 25th and O Street. During the early morning hours, we have had 8 officers that were injured as they attempted to prevent further harm to other people and to prevent destruction to businesses in the area. Of the 8 officers, only 1 was required advanced medical treatment at the hospital, and I'm glad to let you know that he is on his way home. In addition, we had 3 of our police cruisers that were damaged. But all of that aside, just what we spoke about this morning is that I'm outraged. Our officers are outraged by what occurred in Minnesota, and there absolutely should be opportunity to voice that and for change to be going forward. But we can't let what happened last night by a very small group of people in Lincoln detract from that overall message, and that's really what's happening. Because this becomes the focus, the violence, the destruction, not the murder of George Floyd. And so I am asking you, I'm asking every single one of you, it's not enough for you to say, I won't be part of that violence, I won't be part of that destruction, but I'm going to let my friends, my children, know that my expectation is this does not happen in the city of Lincoln. That is my call to action for every one of you. In addition, while we have removed, with the assistance of the Nebraska State Patrol and the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office, many of those that were perpetrating violence and destruction from the area of 25th and O, there are still individuals there. If you're there, go home. Look for a proper avenue to express your outrage. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to the mayor to introduce members of the council.
Unity and a shared concern for our fellow community members has been the key to our success in mitigating the potential devastating effects of the coronavirus as it has impacted our community. And we must continue to draw on the care and the concern that we have for one another as we channel the frustration and anger we feel in this moment. All of us must take a leadership role to create the change for a positive, a more peaceful and just world, and I'm grateful to the support of other city leaders, including those on the Lincoln City Council, who are here today to amplify that message. Richard McGinnis, chair of the council, is here, along with James Michael Bowers, our vice chair, Benny Shope, Roy Christensen, Jane Raybold, Tammy Ward, and Sandra Washington. We continue to practice social distancing. They've been present, of course, for this entire press briefing, and I welcome that they are going to come forward now individually to speak to you. And first up is Councilman Benny Shope.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Chief Blymeister, all those viewing at home, and my fellow council members here in the chambers. I saw the video from Minnesota like we all did, and I was disturbed. I reached out to the chief of police the next day and said, how do we make sure this never happens in Lincoln? This incident in Minnesota shines a light on the social inequalities and the structural inequalities and the racial and ethnic inequalities that exist in our nation and in Lincoln, and we need to work together to make sure they don't happen here, that we can improve our community. The chief in our conversation told me that he agrees, and the Lincoln Police Department, those community servants that serve for us, will have received anti-bias training, have received de-escalation training, and the chief has assured me that they're going to use the incident that happened in Minnesota as an additional training tool on how not to be community servants and law enforcement officials. Until now, Lincoln has been blessed to see only peaceful protests and people expressing their frustration with our nation. Last night that changed, and I'm really troubled by that. I would encourage you to continue to express your frustration through peaceful means. Use your free speech rights to tell people that we want change and work within the system to get change. I want everyone to put on a better display of empathy. Empathy for people in different ethnic groups, empathy for people in different social classes, empathy for law enforcement and victims of crime alike. Try to put yourself in the place of the other person and act with some empathy, care, and compassion. Now's the time for us to let our better selves be visible, to show the rest of the nation how good Lincoln is, how good you are, and how good we can be. Let's be an example to the nation of what a good community looks like. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jane Raybold on the Lincoln City Council, and I want to thank our mayor, the chief, and my fellow council members who are present with us today. There is no doubt this week we have hit so many tragic milestones in our country, with over 100,000 loved ones lost to this wicked virus, and inexplicably, yet again, another black man was senselessly and callously murdered. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Our righteous outrage against these recent events must be expressed, but in the best way that protects and safeguards the future of our state, our country, and our democracy, and that is through nonviolence, as Martin Luther King Jr. preached and modeled. Yes, we must stand up, and yes, we must speak out against all those that foster and flame and embolden hateful and racist actions and oppression, but in a calm and respectful manner that honors so many who have fought for civil rights all these years. We cannot forget George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Eric Gardner, Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin, and that list sorrowfully goes on and on of those Black men and women so tragically lost. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Those words by Martin Luther King Jr. are still so profound in these challenging times. We ask all of you to be mindful, to be compassionate, and most importantly, do not be silent. Use your voice, use your vote, bring out the vote. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. Love one another, respect one another, respect our law enforcement, keep our city, keep our community safe. Please stay safe." And now I would like to introduce Councilwoman Sandra Washington.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. I am horrified by another Black man killed senselessly. I am so saddened by what I witnessed going on in Minneapolis. And just yesterday, I sent a letter back to someone who'd written me, telling them how proud I was that here in Lincoln, thank God, we have never reacted in violence. And I woke up this morning to find out that we now have, and that makes me very sad. I totally understand the anxiety, the frustration, the anger, the grief of everyone who has been touched by this incident, and every incident that has happened over my entire lifetime as Black men and women are killed senselessly at the hands of those who are supposed to protect us. I feel safe in Lincoln, Nebraska. I know that sometimes it is very difficult to put all these things together and to respond compassionately and peacefully. But I am begging all of you who feel a need to raise your fist or to throw a stone to stop for one moment and think about the fact that each of us are someone's loved one. Each of us are held gently by our parents, by our spouses, by our children. And I ask that you think about that before you raise your hand in violence. What's happened recently in Minnesota gives rise to a national conversation that needs to happen, that has happened in fits and starts for centuries. And I'm asking us all to think about this opportunity as a moment where we too can continue that conversation or start that conversation if you've never participated before. Talk about what it means to live in a community where everyone feels respected, where everyone feels safe. And then let's find ways to get there together. I plead with you. We can be the best community we can ever imagine if we only take a moment to breathe and work together. Mayor.
Once again, I appreciate everybody's powerful messages that are here, and I'm confident that the citizens in Lincoln are going to take on to that message and that this violence will not be replicated today or tomorrow or next week. With that, I personally will take a few of your questions, and I'm going to ask Aaron to come over and try to assist with that. And we're going to try to focus these questions to the operational details and the events that occurred last night. So bear with us as we are working through the Zoom.
Okay, I'm gonna have to leave this up there.
Okay.
I need to access the other one.
That's okay. So I think that Aaron can see one of the chat questions.
So Chief, this comes from Lori. Can you tell us how many people were arrested?
Yes, there was 3 different people that were arrested for incidents specifically related to this, Lori. All 3 were charged with failing to disperse, and this occurred in the latter parts after we had deployed many of the resources that we have, including the partnership with the Nebraska State Patrol.
This is let me take this chat screen off. Give me 1 second. And this comes from KLIN, I don't know if it's William, does LPD have plans to increase resources, like more officers throughout the day into the evening?
Absolutely. Since this all began yesterday, we have been working to supplement our staff, and we are putting practices in place where we're preparing in the event that things may happen again, but we are confident that they will not, and that this will be a planning exercise. So yeah, we'll have more officers available.
Jeff Moats asks, how many additional officers were called in to help with this detail this morning?
Jeff, the staffing levels were so fluid because there was overlaps of second and third shift, and then members of the Nebraska State Patrol, along with the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office. And I can't provide you a firm number of the amount of law enforcement that responded to this particular incident.
And Lori's asking, were any protesters injured?
We've been in constant contact, Lori, with the hospitals since the beginning of this. And while we do know that there was an injury from a hit and run auto accident shortly after 2 a.m., that is the only documented injury so far that we are aware of.
Jose Zazoya, was the first report LPD received, what was the first report LPD received regarding a crowd gathering near that intersection? What was the original report?
Again, that was kind of a fluid situation because of the events that occurred nationally and also those that occurred in Omaha. We had been, our situational awareness was there. And there had been people gathered in the area of 25th and 27th and O throughout the night in the early morning hours. That is typical on a Friday or Saturday night. And unfortunately, those that were there, some of which were protesting or rallying in a peaceful manner, there was a very small group that then transitioned that into violence and property destruction.
Mike Zephyr with KLPN. How are you preparing for Sunday, the Sunday's expected Black Lives Matter march at the Capitol?
Yeah, we have great question. We have every reason to believe that rally will be productive, nonviolent, and an opportunity to voice outrage, which is what we support. In fact, like we do in many of these different types of events, our staff have been working with the organizers in advance. So all of last week, trying to prepare for providing the best venue, the safest venue possible. And those planning events will continue, and our staff has been directed to reach out to the leadership within those 2 rallies that are scheduled today, once again, to share with them the events that occurred and any strategies that they could employ to have a very safe and successful demonstration.
I'm going to go to Dale at KFOR. What was the injury to the police officer? What was the injury to the police officer that was treated at the hospital?
It required staples to his head. It was a projectile that was thrown at him. And I have been in conversation with that officer, and he's optimistic and doing fine.
And I think with that, Chief, we'll wrap up questions. It doesn't appear having any more pop on here, so.
Very good. We appreciate the partnership with the media. Please, please get these messages out that have been shared by many different people today. You can assist in making today, tomorrow, the rest of the week, what we expect of Lincoln. So thank you.